right. Good morning, Southridge. My name is Aleigha Tucker, and I intern here. It's pretty good worship music this morning. I'm feeling pretty good now. I'm ready to go. Anyway, all right. I'm going to start out with like a little story. I don't know why I said that. October of 2023, I am about to make a trip with my mom, my two kids, Abel and Aleigha. They're 4 and 2. We are going to Berkeley Springs, and that's 4.5 hours away. Before we leave, my daughter starts getting a little sick. She has a little cough, runny nose. No big deal, I thought, because it's fall. She goes to daycare. Most kids are sick at fall time every single year, and it doesn't go away. So we make the trip, and as we're there, she starts getting a little sicker and sicker. She starts getting a fever. She's coughing, and I'm giving her medicine, doing all the stuff, sucking out those nasty boogers. Moms, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm doing all that, and she's just not improving. October 30th comes, and it's time to go back to Charleston. And I said, yeah, I don't think she can make the trip. There's not a shot my daughter can make this trip back here. So I contact her doctor here in Charleston, and she says, take her to a Med Express or a convenient care if you don't think she can make it. I said, oh, yeah, that would be nice. Berkeley Springs doesn't have any of that. It's a very small town. So I say, let's go to the ER. So I load up Abel and Aleigha and myself, and we drive to the emergency room. We're at the emergency room, and they say, the registration stuff. What's going on? Your insurance? We do all that. And they say, okay, have a seat in our waiting room. Okay, no big deal. I go. I have a seat, right? I'm sitting there, I'm waiting. The kids, Aleigha's sick, so she's just laying on my lap. But Abel is not. And he's really excited to be there. It's about 15 minutes in. They call us back. I get the kids. I say, come on, it's Aleigha's turn. We go back. The nurse gets her vitals, says, hey, what's going on today? I tell her, and I'm thinking, yes, this is going so quick. I'm ready to go back home. They say, go back out in the waiting room. We're pretty busy today. I said, oh, okay. So I get the kids. We go back out. We're sitting there. It's about 30 minutes. I see people coming in, and they're going back to a room. Okay. Well, maybe there's something more important. Maybe they're really, really sick. Like, they're older, so I thought maybe some heart stuff. Something's going on. Okay. It's about 45 minutes to an hour. Aleigha has thrown up on herself. Abel is, he is jumping off the chairs, running through, talking to everybody, telling them everything. And I'm just getting to this point, legs shaking. I'm like, where are they at? I'm on the edge of my seat, ready to scream. I remember seeing this gentleman come in and sit across from me. He sits for 5 minutes, and then he gets called back. And I said, oh my gosh, I have had it. It's been 2 hours. We are leaving. I get the kids. I go to the registration desk. I said, excuse me, ma'am, we've been here for 2 hours, and quite frankly, I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm tired of sitting here. It's time for us to go. I get the kids. She apologizes. She said, I'm so sorry. We're so busy today. I said, okay, I understand. Goodbye. And I leave. We get in the car. We go home. We pick my mom up from my grandmother's, and we start making the trip back to Charleston. Like I said, it's a 4.5-hour trip. That trip was awful. When I tell you she got sicker by the second, I mean it. She kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. I said, we need to stop at Morgantown. No, I can't stop. I want to get home where my husband is so he can take Abel in case something is more severe. We pass Fairmont. We're about to Bridgeport, I believe, and this girl starts projectile vomiting. I'm going about 70 down the interstate, and I whip over. I don't even look for cars, okay? I swerve over. I pull over alongside the road. I get out. She's choking at this point. Rip her out of her car seat. I am freaking out. I don't know what to do. We finally make it to Charleston. The 4.5-hour trip turned into an 8-hour trip because I had to keep stopping. We get to Women's and Children's, and it's about 11:30-ish. We don't get seen till 2 o'clock in the morning at Women's and Children's. So I sat in the waiting room again, waiting to be seen. But this time, I was not leaving. I Aleigha got seen, she had pneumonia and a virus. So no wonder she was so sick. This story makes me wonder, how many times have we been told to wait for something in our life? Wait for a job, wait for the promotion, wait till you're married to have kids, wait till you're married for intimacy. Wait. But we do it anyway, knowing there's going to be a consequence. See, and someone else may have to suffer because of that. I didn't wait for my daughter to be seen, so she's the one who had to suffer the consequence. She endured pain because of it, because of my impatience, because of my irritability, because of my emotions. She's the one who had to suffer. The good news is, we aren't the only ones that do this. Scott told us last week that Saul was celebrated. So we were celebrated. He was real faithful to God. And Scott said, we will start to see the failures of Saul take place. Today's the day they start. How exciting. Yay, Saul. So he's just like us, okay? Meanwhile, we're in Samuel 13, by the way. Meanwhile, Saul stayed at Gilgal, and his men were trembling with fear. Saul waited there 7 days for Samuel, as Samuel had instructed him earlier, but Samuel still didn't come. Saul realized that his troops were rapidly slipping away. First things first, we see that Saul and Samuel had a conversation at some point prior to this, where Samuel says, Saul, I will meet you in Gilgal, wait there 7 days, and I will do the sacrifice and the peace offering. This is what I imagine Saul's like. He's sitting here waiting for Samuel to come. He's waiting. 6 days have passed. It comes the 7th day. He's sitting in the waiting room, waiting for Samuel. 7 days arrive, and he starts seeing his men abandon him, leave him, full of fear. When you see people around you feeling that type of way, you're going to start feeling like that anyway. And honestly, Saul's probably already feeling some type of way, because it's 7 days. Samuel said he would be here. He's not here yet. Where is he? If you and Saul are anything like me, and I'm sitting in that situation like Saul was, I may have a conversation with God. I may say, God, where are you at? You told me you would be here. You told me this was happening. I've been waiting. God, there's people going before me. What is going on? Where are you at? So often we feel that way. We're stuck and we say, where are you, God? I've been waiting, I've been faithful. I've been following you this long. They're new. They just started following you. Why have they got it and I haven't? As we have this conversation, at the end of this conversation, I'm sure we're ready to just explode, if we haven't already. And I'm sure we're going to react just how Saul reacts. So he demanded, bring me the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Saul sacrificed the burnt offering himself. Saul is no priest. During this time, only priests are to do the peace offerings and the sacrifices. Saul's a king. He's stepping out of his role into something he is not to do. It is unlawful for him to do that. Not only is it unlawful, he's deliberately disobeying God in what Samuel had said to him. 2 Mondays ago, I was home with my kids. They're hungry. It's lunchtime. We're going to make some pizza rolls. Pop some pizza rolls in the oven. Ding, 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 they're done. I pull them out. I tell the kids, I plate them up. I tell the kids, I say, come to the table. Dinner's ready. Lunch is ready. This ain't dinner. Lunch is ready. They come, they have a seat. I said, these are hot. Do not bite into them. You will get burnt. Now, if you have had pizza rolls, you know how hard it is to wait. No matter how many times you know it's going to burn your mouth, you're going to bite into it. I turn to walk away. I hear my son, Abel. I look, sauce is coming out the side. I told you were going to burn your mouth. I told him to wait. They're hot. You will get burnt. He was told to wait. He was told of the consequence. He knew there was going to be a consequence for his action. Yet he did it anyway. Why do we choose to do these things knowing there's going to be a consequence? See, it points out something in the text that I think answers part of that. Saul, it says here, he demanded. Saul demanded. When you're demanding something, what do you feel? The first thing that comes to mind is when I'm demanding you do something, boy, I'm pretty angry. I'm a little frustrated. I want it done, and I want it done now. And it's something I usually won't compromise with. We see that Saul, in this text, let those emotions win. He let the anger, the frustration, even the fear, everything that his men were feeling, he was feeling, he let that win and overtake. And he did something that he knew he was not supposed to do. Sometimes I wonder, what is the worst part of the waiting room? What is the worst part in sitting here? Because this is where Saul's at. Saul was sitting and waiting. We go back to our doctor illustration, and is it the smell? You know it stinks in the hospitals sometimes. Is it the smell that does it? The worst part? Is it these boring magazines? Some doctor's offices have upgraded and they got the TVs. Is it the show they got on there that I would never watch at home? The kids running around, all the noise or the lack of noise? I don't think it's any of that. I think it's not knowing when your name's going to be called. The worst part of sitting and waiting is not knowing. See, Saul was in that situation. He was sitting there, he was waiting for Samuel, but he didn't know when he was coming. He said the seventh day. He didn't give him a time. He just said 7 days. We know when we're sitting there at that chair that the physician is on his way. We just don't know when. But it's a little different because while we're waiting, God is still moving. While we wait out there, the doctor is still working on his patients, and he's coming to you. It's the same thing with God. While we're waiting on him to answer the prayers, to do these things, he is still moving. Sometimes I think we find that hard to believe, but here in the text we see that it's about to happen. Just as Saul was finishing with the burnt offering, Samuel arrived. Saul went out to meet him and welcome him. Samuel was already on the way. He was already coming. He went, he did something out of emotion. Now we're going to eventually see what happens because of that. Back in May, I got accepted into the Trellis program, Back in April, I got accepted into Trellis. Part of Trellis it's an internship that our church does, but I have to pay a $3,000 tuition fee. Whenever I get accepted, you pay $500 of that. Boy, I didn't have $500. I wasn't working. My husband's the only one working. I said, I don't know how in the world I'm going to do this. I don't know how this is going to happen. I stressed about it for a couple days. I really did. And then it was consuming me. I was feeling all these negative emotions. My brain was running rampant. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Because I know that God is moving right now. I know that God is working on it. I know that He's handling it. I know He's taking care of it. If this is His will, it's going to be done. So I stopped stressing. I'm on my way here to the church, and I make a phone call to my grandmother. And she had known what was going on. I said, Nana, this $500, I know it's going to come. I know it's coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I just got to trust and believe that He's going to take care of me. She said, yes, you do. Yes, you do. We get off the phone. I come in the church. I'm here for a little bit, and I'm having a conversation with someone here. They say, hey, did you pay that yet? No, I didn't. I didn't. Well, why not? Well, I don't want to ask anybody for help. Okay. He gave me some pretty good advice. And shortly after that conversation, I'm back there working on VBS stuff, spending time with God because I'm by myself. I'm praying. I'm listening. I'm doing service for Him. I look at my phone, I get a text message. Hey, we're going to give you $250 towards that $500. Come on now. I leave here, I'm excited. I'm halfway there. I go, I'm headed down the road, I call my Nana. Nana, you ain't gonna believe what happened. I got $250 towards the 500. God is working, He is moving, it's gonna happen. I know it is. I'm at my mother-in-law's house. I get off the phone with my grandma, get to my mother-in-law's house. Not there very long, I get a phone call from my grandmother. Me and your pappy talk, we're going to give you that $250. No. I said, don't do that. No, you can't do that. She said, no, you don't understand. When I got off the phone with you this morning, I was out at my rose bush talking to God. And I said to Him, if you get somebody to give her $250, God, I will give her the rest. She said, when you called me and said you got $250, she said, I almost fell over. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. She said, I have to keep my promise to the Lord and give you that $250. And she did. See, I made the conversation. I was taking part in it. I wasn't doing the work. But God was already moving, and I didn't even know it. God had already placed something on her heart. She had said a prayer for me. The first person who gave it to him, God said, you know what, bless them. I'm sure they had a conversation with God, and He said, you help out. You do that. And they did. I didn't see God moving, but He still was moving. See, Saul had the same type of situation happen. He was doing something, but his was a little different. He was too busy wrapped in this that he wasn't able to see God moving. If I would have stayed where I was in the beginning, if I would have stayed in those emotions, I wouldn't have seen what God was already doing. I wouldn't have seen Him work. See, that assures me that God is never going to be late to the appointment. Our doctors may run late sometimes, but God ain't never going to be late. He's going to show up right on time every time, right when we need Him. We may think He's running behind. We may think He ain't here when He said He would be here. But I promise you, He comes at the right time, every time. Also, while I was waiting, while I was waiting for God to just move, I was trusting him. I think that's something Saul lacked, and I think it's something a lot of us have lacked throughout our whole lives. Even probably today, some of us are lacking that. We're not trusting God completely. We're waiting, but not trusting. A couple Sundays ago, Jacob and I get up for church. We're downstairs getting ready. He's sitting at the table, and he's reading me the Bible. Jacob's my husband, if you guys don't know. Anyway. So he's sitting there reading me the Bible. He stops and he says, honey, I think I'm supposed to start, I think God's telling me to share my story, to share my testimony. I said, all right, let's do it. I said, what about that preaching or that teaching opportunity you got in Parkersburg? He said, no, you don't understand. I'm supposed to share my story. I'm supposed to do my testimony. I said, all right, that's fine. Something's going to happen. God's going to work something out. We come to church. On our way home, we take separate vehicles because I'm here before him. We're taking separate vehicles. I get on my phone. I said, you know what? I'm going to call Pastor Scott, see if he know anything about Jacob sharing his story. I pull it up. I go to press call, and the Spirit stops me. He says, no. I said, you know what? You're right. I'm not calling. I ain't calling. I know God's already working. I want to see how he moves. I want to see him take care of this. I trusted that God had it handled, that he knew better than me, that he knew what needed to be done. I get home. We're sitting on the couch. We're not there that much longer. And Jacob gets a message from Pastor Scott. Hey, you want to do a podcast with me tomorrow, Jacob? I said, what? He said, Scott asked me to do that. What? No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Now, if I would have called Scott, if I would have called Scott, I wouldn't have got to see the evidence of God moving. I wouldn't have got to see that blessing happen. I wouldn't have got to see my husband prayer to share his testimony, the calling that God had placed on his heart be answered. Because I would have said, oh, I did that. If I would have called, I would have said, I did that. I made that happen. But I didn't. I trusted. So I got to see it happen, which was really cool. I think some of us are in a season right now where we aren't trusting God. We aren't seeing what God's doing. We aren't seeing the evidence. Maybe you're praying for a breakthrough, or you're praying for direction in your life. You're praying for healing. There's so many different things that we're praying for, and we're not seeing it happen. You're praying and you're praying and you're praying, and you're not seeing anything happen, and you're ready to give up. You're on E. You're drained. I have a question. What are you doing while you wait? Were you like Saul and sitting there watching everybody else? Waiting? See, a couple weeks ago, Scott said it's the sovereignty of God and human responsibility. Some of us are willing to wait on God to do his part, but we're not willing to do our part. While we wait, we got a job to do. We don't just sit. Waiting don't mean sitting and doing nothing. Just like when we're in the waiting room at the doctor's office, look, they got magazines for you. Some of them nicer doctor's offices got them kids stations so your kids can play. There is stuff to do while you wait. It's the same thing while we wait on God. There is stuff to do. Be in communion with him. Get to know him. Do his work. worship him, praise him before it even comes. There's so many things that we're not doing. And you want things to come. You want a marriage. You want a good life. You want a relationship with your kids that's better. You want all these things, but what are you doing to make it better on your part? Are you and your boyfriend, are y'all focused on God together? You and your husband, you want him to be the center. You want God to be the center of your marriage, but are you placing him in the center? Y'all praying together. Y'all going to church together. You worshiping together. You learning together. Same thing with our kids. And I'm not saying nothing that I've not struggled with myself. Me and my husband are working on it right now, placing God in the center. That is the key to anything in life. If we are waiting and we're focused on him, the wait becomes easier. And the next two verses we're going to skip, right? But there's a conversation that takes place between Samuel and Saul. And Samuel says, "You fool, what have you done? What the heck are you doing?" Saul makes an excuse. "Oh, I felt compelled to do it. I had to do it. My men were fleeing." You know how it goes. I'm modernizing it. You know how it goes. They were getting so upset. I had to do something. I'm the king. I'm in charge of this. It's my job to do it. No, it ain't your job to disobey God anyway. He says, "How foolish," in 13. "How foolish," Samuel exclaimed. "You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. Had you kept it, the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now, your kingdom must end." This is where we see the consequence of what Saul did take place. Saul had been told to do something. "I told you to wait. You didn't. Now it's over for you. It's done. That's it. You're no longer going to reign as king." And you know what else? Neither are his kids. Neither are his grandkids. See, that goes to show us that sometimes the decision we make to not wait can affect the generation to come. It don't only affect us. It can affect our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. I think some people right now are living in a situation where they're living in the consequence of their parents or their grandparents. They grew up in broken homes, grew up in addictions, grew up financially unstable. I mean, poverty level. Some of us may be in a situation now where we're living just like that because of our own actions, not because of our parents' actions. Some of us may be living in the consequence. If we can learn one thing from Saul, it's that the wait is hard. It's hard to wait. It's hard to wait for our prayers to be answered. It's hard to wait for our turn, right? But it's much harder. The consequences are much harder. It's hard to wait, but the consequences of not waiting are harder. That's it. That's it. The wait is hard, but the consequences of not waiting are harder. There's so many of us that are just starting to feel like Saul. We are sitting here like Saul was, watching, waiting. It's the 6th day, the 7th has come. We're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. We're starting to grow anxious, but we ain't moved yet. There's some of us that have decided, I'm demanding something. I'm taking it into my hands. I'm done. There's some of us that are living in the consequence now. No matter where you're at, what you've already done, it's okay. It is okay because you're not alone. See, the Israelites waited for the Messiah. And he came. When he came, that was a promise for us, that he would always be there for us and come for us, and he would wait with us alongside of us. He came to save us to forgive us, to redeem us. So many of us forget that. We forget that we have salvation through Jesus Christ. He came, he became sin, so we have a chance to live in the kingdom with him. We can reign with him forever, but you have to make that decision. You have to pray, you have to ask him. Start making changes and wait with him, not on him. So many times we're waiting on God, not with God. I challenge you today to just change that. No matter where you're at, God sees you, he hears you, he knows your needs, and he's going to take care of them. And he loves you. God, we thank you so much. We thank you for everything that you're doing in this church, God, in our lives. And I pray right now for the ones that are waiting, the ones who are struggling to get past the wait, to get out of the waiting room, Lord. I pray that they know that your 15-minute grace period never ends. You will always wait for them. God, I pray right now that people are open to receiving you, God. I pray right now that people are renewed and made new through you, Jesus. We love you, God, and we thank you for making the way for us. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.